Welcome, everybody, to week 16 of the Hot Route on Christmas Eve, if you will. It is a very nice Thursday here. We are currently setting heat records for Oklahoma. We are on pace to have the hottest December ever in Oklahoma, which is, I guess nice for us golfers, but the kiddos that want to see snow and some of that stuff, it is not optimal that tomorrow is going to be 81 degrees here on Christmas Eve. But we will deal with it. With me, as usual, Mr. Ryan, how you doing this Thursday afternoon?
Doing well, man. I'm pumped for the holidays. I love this time of year. Niners play tonight. It's a great time of year. We have a white Christmas, which is nice. So it's not supposed to snow or anything, but we actually have snow that's stuck. So I know, my kid enjoys that, and all the kids around do. So it'll be a fun white Christmas here. What do you guys do for the holidays? You do it at your house, or you go around to the family?
Yeah, we, obviously this is our second year back being home. The kiddos were used to 80-degree summers down in San Antonio and Texas and stuff. So they were looking forward to a cold one. We did get a nice cold winter last year. Well, one part of it was way too cold, historical cold, but we had some snow and all that stuff. But, the 81 degrees around here makes it a little difficult to feel like it's Christmas when you go outside in shorts and a t-shirt or for me, go play 9 holes or something and in a polo and golf shorts. You're not used to that, but having the family around here is nice. We had many years of not being able to do that or very little of it. We'll rotate between her family and my family. Tomorrow night we'll go to hers, and then Saturday obviously we'll open up with our kids, and then that night my family will come over and we'll have a little Christmas. And then also, we got tons of football on this weekend, so that also makes it break up a little bit of the family overhaul, but and some good games. Looking forward to them as long as they all get played. Obviously a lot of what we discussed last week was minute by the time Sunday comes, so it's a little hesitant there. It's something we're dealing with right now. I expect it to go down a little bit with their new rules, but as we were getting on the air here, my number one ranked running back on the week is Dalvin Cook, who is now no longer I don't even know if he's eligible to try to make it to play.
I think he's unvaccinated is what I read, so he's got to wait the full 10 days.
Yeah, so he's out, which probably hurts several season long, maybe best ball stuff. I was actually playing against Cook this week in the Super Bowl in one of my 2 leagues. So, and I have Madison as the backup. So that doesn't hurt my feelings because he's got a pretty loaded team. He's got a pissed off Brady coming in, and Cooper Kupp, who just seems that absolutely nobody can stop him going up against a secondary that's not optimal for stopping wide receivers. I know we'll get to that here in a little bit. As usual, if you want to check it out now, great time to join. Tons of football going on. 2-game college football this afternoon. Sunday night or Thursday night football tonight. I'll get Ryan's thoughts on that here in a second, being his 49ers, see what he thinks. And then we have college football Friday, Saturday. Yeah, we do have a Saturday. They're doing a 1 game up against the NFL. I don't know if it's staggered or not. Sunday, tons of NFL. The next week is one of those big traditional big bowl weeks. You start getting into some of the big boys and the nice games leading into the January 1 games. And then we're 2 weeks from today teeing it up again on the PGA. The Tournament of Champions will have teed up probably about 2 hours ago or so over in Hawaii. So come check us out now. 7-day free trial that gets you going. You can check out the tools, get familiar with stuff, headed into golf. And then if you want to stay, you obviously get the 20% off as long as you're a member. If you cancel, no harm, no foul. It's a no risk deal. Underdog right now is running their best ball playoff. I think it's called the Gauntlet. It's $1 million in prizes. Pretty good payout structure too. 20% the first, 200,000, and it goes down from there. If you want to go check that out, use the code GUP. You get a free dollar for dollar match up to $100. The link is in the description. I did not check how full it is, but I'm sure it's getting close. So if you want to hop in there, you may want to take a look at that. I think if you put $100 in now, use that code, get a free $100. I think it gets you 8 entries into it because I think it's $25 if you are drawing dead in season long or you did not advance in round 2 of the best balls. This is a great time or a great way to get a little bit of action for the playoffs. Rate and review us on iTunes. I'll be doing giveaways all the way. I'll probably do quite a bit next week. This week's been kind of crazy with me doing some business travel and then taking a little bit of time off. really for the first time since last June. So I didn't have any pods Monday through Wednesday for multiple reasons with the travel and all that. Certainly got you covered all the NFL this week. We'll get you going. So if you rate and review us, you'll get into the big drawings, especially next year. We'll do tons as we approach Daytona, TPC, the Masters and stuff like that. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. In the comment section, tell me if you are wanting to pay the $9,100 for Cooper Kupp this week. Just put Kupp yes, Kupp no, and that'll get you into the drawings for next week. Niners tonight, they got a little momentum. Jimmy G's, I know you posted it in, I believe, Slack. Number one rated PFF quarterback last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, he's been playing incredible. So I'm just hoping that, if he can even maintain just like a top 10 status there, the defense is playing well enough and the run game is playing well enough where they could make a run here. Tonight's game, I think, is just like, it's two pretty good defenses and two teams that just love to pound the ball. So I don't know. I mean, for showdown, I think it's one of those slates where you're going to have to include the defenses. This game could come down to a big defensive play on either side. I think they'll both be able to get, decent pressure on the quarterback. And beyond that, I mean, they play like the 21st and 22nd fastest paces. They're not like, I don't know, it's going to be like a good old fashioned slobber knocker type game, in my opinion. But how do you feel about it? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I like the Niners tonight. I think they get the win. They have to if they want to stay alive. In my opinion, they're playing well. Getting healthy across many areas. I know the secondary still kind of banged up, but a lot of those guys are getting reps now that it's not as bad as it was, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. And I agree. I think this plays into their hand of both teams wanting to run the ball, shorten the game up. I don't expect to see any kind of shootout, but I didn't expect to see a 9-0 Bucs Saints game either last week. So right. It could completely flip on its head and turn into one for sure. I like the game. I think it's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be a good slate. I'll obviously cover the 2-game slate and do a showstoppers article for Saturday, similar to like I did last week, and then quickly deleted it as all hell broke loose on COVID, and it became just a 1 game, basically like a showstopper for any other time because the 2-game slate got canceled. Hopefully we avoid any of that this week. But I'll get you covered on that 2-game slate. I like it. It'll be a good, Christmas Day deal. With the holidays, it is kind of hard to get, everything out, especially with all the news that we have. So I hate putting out work and putting out content and putting out pods that become absolutely useless, but we can only wait so long to do it. And so we're going to get through the main slate here. Hopefully we avoid any more big news. Then we got the Packers, Browns, Colts, Cardinals, 2 big games, 2 important games on Saturday that I'll cover a little bit on the Cup with Gup. And then certainly for the premium members, I'll have my content out for that game. I'll have the showdown.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was hoping that AJ Brown wouldn't be back for tonight, but it's looking like he's going to play. So that's like the big news for tonight's game.
Yeah. And I think, I just don't, I don't like, I just think the Titans are so much overvalued without Henry. I still don't think the books have adjusted enough to how much he means to that entire game flow. We'll see. Maybe getting Brown back helps certainly, but I'm intrigued to see that. I could see the Niners kind of running away with it because Tennessee's defense still isn't nothing to write home about. So, Debo could have a big game. Kittle could have a big game. Jeff Wilson should, if you're doing season-long stuff, he should get most of the touches again tonight, right? You don't see.
Yeah, he should. And for DFS, he's priced way down because Mitchell was expected back. So you see Mitchell's price up. I just had it on captain, but he's at 9,000. Wilson's all the way down at 5,200. So, he'll probably be pretty popular, but he is the guy where if this does get in their favor, it's like kind of like how I called it last week. This is no matchup like they had last week, but if the script gets in his favor, he's got no problem carrying the ball 20 to 25 times, and you always have a chance to score then. So, for 5,200, that price is just wrong because they expected Mitchell back.
100%. Yeah, and I've already written the article for tonight. I'll do the podcast and release it after this one. and I'll hit on some of that, trying to figure out where we can be different. I do like the slate tonight because there's not like you don't have your Lamar, Kyler type situation where you have to kind of get that guy in no matter what. Because you can kind of go different ways. This game could go many different ways, especially Tennessee side. There's no like dominant, how good is AJ going to be coming back? Julio, even when he's been there, he hasn't done a whole lot. Tannehill looks like garbage when he doesn't have Henry, in my opinion, because the defenses aren't, when we ain't got that loaded box, it's a lot harder to throw the football. And San Francisco's not going to respect it, in that matter. So, on San Francisco side, there's ways for Jimmy G, there's way for Kittle, Ayuk, even obviously Debo, Wilson, they could all wind up in the captain and do well. So like you said, I think there's many ways to get to it tonight. And I kind of like those slates in general. I think it's a lot better than trying to get around a super chalky spot. Although, like you said, Wilson should be somewhat popular at that price tag. But you guys are here for the main slate. 11 games again on Sunday. Obviously, no bye weeks. Big time football now. I mean, we're to the point where people are, every game matters to an extent, and then some teams just are playing for either positioning on where they're going to draft or players playing to, make sure they got a job next year. But for the most part, and some of it has to do with the Week 18 deal, but also just has to do with parity this year, that there are so many teams that are mathematically alive still, that most games still have, intent value. We don't have to just write it off. And I like that because it spreads out the slate a little bit more. It doesn't chalk in as much. You get a lot smaller spreads. There are a few 10-line spreads with the bottom feeders of the NFL right now, your Houstons, your Giants, sometimes the Jets, those kind of games, which the Jets and Lions are at least fighting compared to some of those others. They stay around in games. Sometimes late covers happen, sometimes not, but I think it'll be a good, fun slate. There's many different options to go into it. I have some chalk in my early projections. Obviously this was before the Cook news, but I think Madison will be maybe not as, he may be more popular. I didn't see what they priced him at, because obviously that broke right before we got on, but if he's not priced accordingly, he could be a pretty popular play. But fairly spread out. I got 6 games, all 80, high 90, 100% range in ownership, and then the next one 75%. So you got some spots to get to. There's no just smash. I do think the Vikings Chargers game may be one of the most popular. That one or the Chargers game will be popular, but that'll be heavy Chargers, not necessarily Houston. Tampa's always kind of popular. We'll get to that game. I'm interested to get your thoughts with some of the banged up stuff there, but we're going to kick it off in my division, the NFC East. Cowboys looking to clinch that. Giants at Eagles, 26-16. Eagles are a 10-point favorite. Giants season is over for all intents and purposes. I think they're going to go with Fromm starting. I know they still hadn't officially announced that. It does not matter, other than the defense of the Eagles will be on the radar. They are my defense in my season long, so I'm kind of pumped about that. I like what I saw out of the Eagles last night. It's a short turnaround week for them. Their style of football, I don't think it'll be too bad. They got a great D. I think this game will be ugly. I do think they could probably cover. I don't know if I can lay 10 in any kind of NFC East game these days, but I'm on you. I'm with you on the 3 guys you mentioned. I think Sanders is a little underpriced if they're finally going to start letting him eat. Hurts, we saw what he can do. But the last time I was super big on him on the Giants, it did not end well for me in the survivor pool, among other things. So a little bit of hesitancy there on my part. He is my quarterback. We talked about last week. We neither one of us started him in our season long because you just couldn't take that chance. I'm going to be on him. I like him. I think he'll be somewhat popular. I guess the only worry could be if they just start getting up in a hurry. But he still seems to get there with his legs no matter what. And this price isn't horrible. When you got Brady, you got Lamar, you got Mahomes, you got Herbert, all those guys are easy clicks for people. So I still think he'll be not chalky because of the price, but he's not going to be overly looked at this week because there's so many great quarterbacks on this slate. What are your thoughts there in general?
Yeah, I like everything you said. I think it's like you look at the one hiccup the Eagles had, and it was that Giants game. Unfortunate that it knocked you out of Survivor, but they were running the ball so well before that. They get to that game, they go pass heavy. No one knows why. Then after that game, they go back to running the ball heavy, and now they're winning again. So it's like And like you said, they're fighting for the wild card. So they're still alive. So this is a must win on a short week. You kind of like, limit that playbook that's already pretty limited anyways. And you just pound the ball and run all over the Giants and win. I think they can do that. So I love Sanders. I mean, for anyone who's touched the ball at least 150 times this year, he's the only one who hasn't scored. Well, he's touched it 150 times, hasn't scored. The next best guy hasn't touched it more than 75, that has scored a touchdown. So it's like he's due to score a touchdown. They don't ever let him get the ball down there, but it's going to happen. He'll score from 10 to 20 yards out, something like that. A touchdown is coming his way. And for 5,600, that's the time that you're going to want to play him. Hurts for 64. That's why I have him for tournaments only. I know that it seems like he has a decent floor, but really, I mean, he doesn't. And we saw it last time they played these guys. His floor to me is a lot lower than a lot of people think, but I know his ceiling can be up in, the 30-ish point range. But I don't think you need to go there this week in cash. I love it for a tournament. But I love Sanders all around. They're a different team when Jordan Howard's healthy too. They can just have two backs, just pound you to death and win the game. I'm all over the Eagles. And there's a lot of Daniel Jones haters out there, but look at this Giants offense without him. I mean, they are terrible. So that guy really helps them a lot. I have a lot more respect for him now that I see what it is without him. But I'm not touching anyone on the Giants side.
No, I can't get there either. Not even like me stuff. There's too many other spots I'll go to this week. I do like Goddard. I think he's getting more and more involved. We kind of broke out with Minshew, but I think Kurtz has kind of kept it going. So another great night for him last night. Giants struggle in that spot as well. So I think I'll be there with you on him. I don't know in a 1 to 3 max if I go to Jalen per se. Definitely will be on my list. There are a lot of great options and great spots this week. So quarterback, you don't really have. I think Herbert will be the number one by far, with price discount from Josh Allen, Mahomes, and those guys. And the Texans are just god awful. We'll get to that game here in a little bit. My fear there is a potential get up early, and they kind of don't throw a lot. But we'll get there in a second. Rams at Vikings, 26-23. Rams were the 3-point short favorite on the road. Probably will go up to a 3 is such a key number, and I don't know how much the books will value the drop off between Cook and Madison, because Madison's already proved it this year. He can step in. Maybe it gets to 3.5. I don't see it moving up. Just it's not going to go up crazy amount, because that's not that big of a drop off. It's not like a quarterback or anything. But the Vikings are going to need to run the football to be successful and be in this game. I actually like this game. Obviously, before the Cook news, as far as betting goes, I think this is a great spot. In the Rams coming off of a good win, a divisional win, a tough win, 20-10. Everybody's loving them again. They're kind of getting to be that fad team for a little bit. But again, a short week. They got to go on the road the day after Christmas, West Coast to East Coast. Vikings are a good physical team that are probably one of the most unluckiest teams when you look at some of the winning shares in the fourth quarter in their games. And they got to win. So does the Rams. Rams are trying to get the number 1 seed, but the Vikings, and I don't think it's that big of a drop. Cook looks great when he came off that. Those first 2 games coming off his injury and getting some rest, his legs looked fresh and he did look good. But I think to win this game, even if they had Cook, Cousins is going to have a good game. Was going to have a good game no matter what. Do we go there in tournaments? Do we trust Cousins against the Rams? They got the weapons. We know, I don't think there's any D's that can really lock up Jefferson. We expect Thielen back. That should help some. Tons of weapons on the Rams side. Where do we spread it out this week?
Yeah, I like Cousins here as a tournament play only. I like Stafford for everything. Stafford kind of disappointed a little bit last week. But yeah, I totally expect him to bounce back here. The Vikings defense, they give up they're like second to last in yards per reception allowed. So I really like the Rams receivers to bounce back too, like the role players. So Kupp is who he is at this point, but there's a lot of games where Kupp and Jefferson have balled out together. Same thing with Odell. So I really like going back to Jefferson or Odell here as well. And they should have some lower ownership. Their prices didn't change because they didn't do much. But they can each, either one of them can score 20 points at any given time. And against this defense, either one of them can break a big play as well. So, Kupp, I think is safe now, even for cash. I mean, He's been doing it. It's week 16. He's done it 15 straight weeks. I think his floor, it was like 17 or 18 points this year. So, yeah, Cup's fine at 9,100 there. I like Madison. He's 6,800. So I know he'll be pretty popular. And I'll have to look at that and see if he's, if I want to play him in cash or not. I typically like to take, the favorites in cash, but if he's going to get all this work and be, home team, I kind of like all that as well. But yeah, I like going to those Ram receivers that no one really is going to want to click. So they're kind of in that mid price range where there'd be a lot of other super popular guys and their ownership will be very low.
Yeah, I got all three of them in my top 14 of the initial rankings. So I definitely like them. I don't mind doubling up on the Jefferson boys here, Van Jefferson and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
The Rams defense is strong, but it's really because they can get pressure. The O-line passing wise for the Vikings isn't horrible. And if they can give him some time, I think these wide receivers will be able to get open more often than not. I don't think this secondary it's good, but it can be had at times. And we've seen that. So if they can give Cousins time, I definitely think they can be successful. I actually see this more of could be a higher scoring game. I think Vegas has it about right. That's kind of where I was 27-24 was kind of top of my head. They got it 26-23 before the adjustments on Cook. I get the cash deal with Cup, but is it just at this point we just eat it if you're in a tournament or, because I think he's still going to be popular because of the matchup, even though he's 9,100. Do you try to go elsewhere this week? But now you just got an $8,300 Cook that's now going to be, what'd you say, 6,800? So you got some cheap spots that you can fit him in, but this just goes back to the CMC rule for me. Like if he's going to be the number one owned still at that price, I just game theory wise, I'm cash all day, move on, but tournament, I may have to avoid that.
Yeah, it's hard in a tournament because he can hit that 36, 37 point ceiling that he has multiple times, but more often than not, he's not doing that. He's just having a nice solid 20 to 25 points. And that's kind of where for cash, I like it. You have that safe floor with him. But yeah, you could definitely fade because Jefferson or Odell could be the one that catches 2 TDs. And so you do that and Higbee will be back this week. So, there's more to feed right now. I think Skoronek's going to be, gone. I think he was out there because Higbee wasn't out there again.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason why I like Jefferson and Odell even more as well. So yeah, in tournaments, that makes a lot of sense. I like that thought process.
Yeah, and we'll see how it shakes out by Sunday morning or whatever. But I definitely don't know if I can get to him because, like you said, the Rams could still do well, and even though they're going to be kind of a popular play here, when I can have a spot to fade one guy out of a chalky game and it sets me apart, but I still get into that game script, many different ways, that I'll take that chance more times than not. Yeah, it can burn me, but we're trying to win big, large fields in NFL. And sometimes you got to do the uncomfortable stuff there. I do like this game in general. I won't move off of anything really with the change from Cook, just because we've seen Madison again, do well. I wouldn't say his ceiling's as good as Cook, but he can definitely keep that team, in it. And I still kind of like them to at least cover. I like that if it gets to 3.5 after the move from Cook, I like that even more. Rams may win a close one. I don't see them blowing the Vikings out here at home though, by any means, the day after Christmas.
The Rams could run here too. The Vikings, they give up like the second worst yards per catch allowed, but they're also second worst in yards per carry allowed. So they really can't stop. I think the Steelers are the only team worse allowing yards per carry. So the Rams with 2 healthy backs now. They could just pound it with Michelle and Henderson. That could help keep the game close too, like you said, if you had the Vikings covering. But that would also limit Cup's overall ceiling.
Yeah, ceiling there. Bills at Patriots 23-20.5. This is a rematch from a couple weeks ago. I was super high on the Patriots that week. I was in the minority, and it worked in my favor. This was the crazy. Obviously, I was high on them before we figured out the weather, and then we turned into the just absolute crazy win game. At New England, though, Belichick, fresh off of playing them, I trust them again. I know the public. I've already had people come at me wanting to bet because I said that 2.5 weeks from now, people are going to be right back on the Bills thinking this team's better than what they are. I still maintain they're overrated. I've been on that for a while. They started the season hot, but you're at that time of the year, especially going to get, if you cannot run the football. I know they started it a little last week. I'll be interested to see if they try that this week, because I had to think they finally got Singletary, 20 plus touches, which just shocked me.
Yeah.
Are they willing to risk that against New England? Because if they're not, I have a feeling they did that last week in prep for, if we don't run the football, Belichick's going to shut us down just like he did before. Win be damned. The win did what it did, but I'll take Belichick in late December at home in most games anyways. But if they don't come out and take some pressure off that passing game with trying to run it, and I'm not talking about Josh Allen run it, I just think the Patriots will, and the Patriots got a good D. So I still like them at home, and they're only laying 2.5. DFS wise, I'm like you. I don't really like much in this game because, you got a good D there. There's not, the Patriots offense really is never good to get into DFS wise anyways. Good game to watch. I'll be excited for it. I'll probably have the Patriots on my final card betting wise, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, I like New England at home here too. It's, regardless of the wind, take the wind out of that last game. You had a football team that told you, we're going to run the ball every single play, and all you got to do is stop us. And they could not stop it. So it's like, and now Stevenson hasn't practiced yet this week. He missed it again today. And Harris is practicing. So I think you might get Damian Harris at 5,600 just by himself in that backfield. You have Bolden for the pass downs, but I don't really think they're going to pass. So maybe Bolden takes 20 or 30% of the rushes, but still Harris, he left the last game and had a huge game against them.
Yep.
Both backs did. So if Stevenson's out, I'm all over Harris here for 5,600. I think it's great. He doesn't catch any passes, so I can't really use him in cash, but for tournaments, I love it. And, I think he does have like a 2 TD ceiling here, which would be nice. And then the only other player I'd consider would be Gabe Davis. If Sanders misses again, Beasley's out. So even if Sanders is back in, Davis is going to be in the rotation. He's cheap at 4,700. I don't think he's going to go have some huge game, but he's turning out to be one of Allen's favorite targets. And I just, I think they'll try to run a little bit more, like you said, but the Bills are just going to be Bills, and there should be a decent amount of pass volume. They threw a lot even in that wind game. So Davis could eat there. I don't want to pay up for Diggs in this atmosphere, but I'll take a discount on a team that throws a lot.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what Allen's ownership comes in at quarterback, because I want no part of him. That's an easy fade for me, especially at that price. I'll be interested to see if people want to go back there against New England. I agree with those two. I didn't realize, Stevenson was potential to miss, because that was my fear, was if you never know with the timeshare, and you damn sure never know with Belichick how he's going to handle the running backs. But yeah, if it looks like it's going to be a workhorse day for Harrison, certainly don't mind that. And Davis was a great play last week. I played him in several spots. Beasley's already out, like you said. So those two are fine for tournaments as well. Another divisional game, Bucks at Panthers. We get a pissed off Brady coming off his first home shutout, I think, ever, and only his second shutout in the last 15 years period. 28 laying, call it 11 or 12 on the road at a Carolina team that is absolutely melded in for the season. It's hard to go against a pissed off Brady. I guess the worrisome will be who's his weapons going to be come Sunday. I think, we've heard Brown will be back. Gronk's there, probably a great spot for him. He'll go to who he trusts. Perriman's shown some spikes. He caught the big touchdown in overtime. Jones, with Fournette out now, should get most of the volume. They brought in Bell. I don't think he brought in to get a lot of reps. I think it was more of especially this week, hey, if we need you, we need you. But if not, well, let's get you healthy in case, or get you familiar in case Fournette's out longer than we think. Could be a great spot for Jones to eat. I picked him up on waiver wires last night as a potential start this week in my Super Bowl. Do you just load up here on the Bucks? I think they crush. I can't lay that number on the road in a divisional game, no matter how bad the Panthers are. But having Brady being, how he is, especially in this kind of spot coming off that game, you got to think he's fired up and ready to go. But does he have a little bit of, damn, we're beat up? Like, I got my two best. I don't think Evans is going to play. I don't know if you got any update there, but if Evans plays, I think that probably helps them. But if not, do you think they rely more on the run, or you think Brady comes out firing?
I just love Brady this week. Yeah, I think he comes out firing. Evans wasn't at practice today, so I think he's going to miss. I mean, maybe if he gets in limited tomorrow, there's a chance, but I think he'll be limited in the game no matter what. But you got AB coming back, and I think he's going to play. He's 4,900. So it's like, to me, there's no difference there. I mean, AB is a fucking awesome receiver. And Brady's got good rapport with him too.
Yep.
So I don't think he misses a step here. I mean, Brady hasn't scored 20 DraftKings points this year. The week following, he scored 41, 24, 23, and 33. So he's just like that classic pissed off Brady comes back and dominates.
Yeah.
And then you get this, like you said, Panthers have mailed it in. This is my classic move where I think you play a quarterback and running back together to be different, and that could be where you're different.
Yep.
So Brady, Jones, Brown, that whole stack, I love that. Throw Gronk in there. They can all easily eat here, and that's very cheap when you got a $5,100 Jones, $4,900 Brown, and $6,200 Gronk. So I love those. Those four I love.
Yeah, and they're going to be, this game will be popular on the Tampa Bay side, but because we have, Mahomes and some other spots, Herbert and those guys, it won't be as bad as what it could be if we didn't have these other, Herbert versus the Texans type setups. Yeah. So I think you can take some chances and not have to worry about, I wouldn't say not worry about the chalk, but you can get into these game scripts, but you got to be willing to, not hope this one pays off more than the Herbert stack against the Texans type of deal, but that's DFS. We know that. I do like it. I think, and I don't mind, maybe we'll see who else starts. I do think he'll focus more on Brown and Gronk. And you mentioned Perryman, but Johnson could do all right as a deep flyer if Evans is out. But I agree with you. I think going Brady Jones will definitely be more unique than what most people do. We've seen that pay off a lot in the last few weeks.
Brady loves throwing the backs too. I mean, Jones had 2 catches last week and he threw to Vaughn, and Vaughn's first, he just dropped it. So Brady's not going to like that. So I don't know. I think Jones has a higher floor than people think here.
Yeah, and one bet I got kind of starred is because I don't want to lay the number on the road is I may hit the team total here for the Bucks and not have to worry about a backdoor spread or anything, because if it's anywhere around that 27.5, 28, I think the Bucks score that and more on Sunday. So I like that spot. Next game won't take much to talk about. Jaguars at Jets. Couldn't be less interested in this game. 22 to 19.5. The Jets are a small home favorite. Everybody hopped all over the Jaguar. One of the easiest bets of the week from last week was Houston +5. I thought that people way overreacted to some reason thinking that Urban Meyer even was going to open that thing up. I thought they may play a little bit better, but there's no way I was going to ever look at taking the Jaguars as a freaking favorite against anybody. So it's an easy spot to jump on. I don't know about this game in general. The Jets, I don't want to say they're fighting as hard as the Lions, because obviously Lions just beat the Cardinals, but I don't think I've seen them just tank yet. They seem to get weak as the game goes on. They'll be in it for a while, then they fade later on in the game. Michael Carter back. He didn't get a ton of work last week. I don't know if they're just working him into it. He obviously can, this would be a great spot for him if they'll let him run the ball and eat. He should have a good game. And I agree with you. I don't mind Robinson either. I think both these running backs should be featured a lot this week. They're still not moving Treadwell up in pricing. So while I don't trust Jacksonville per se, the Jets defense is not great. And 3,500, I'm willing to take a few one-off pieces in this game. I don't think I can get here and stack by any means, but those are the 3 I had my eye on. You had a couple more listed, but I like Robinson and Carter and Treadwell as potential, one-off flyers in some builds this week.
Yeah, that's why I had a little bit more listed like that, because I think this game, these teams are going to score on each other. It's just a matter of you don't want to go stack the game, but you want to have some good pieces. So like Robinson, I think it's safe to say, he's proven himself to be a better running back than that of Duke Johnson, who went out and just made the Jets defense look like a Pop Warner defense. So it's like, I love Robinson this week. He had the big game. So the Urban Meyer thing, when he left, everyone was hoping that Robinson would touch the ball, and boom, he had over 20 touches first game. So I think he's kind of back to being the man there. And the Jets have given up 26 rushing TDs this year in only 14 games. That's almost 2 a game. I mean, it'd be hard to see Robinson not score a touchdown this week. And the only thing holding him back is he is a Jaguar. I mean, they are on a disastrous losing streak here. But even with them losing, he's still scoring points when he touches the ball 20 times. And then, like you said, Treadwell's 3,500. He leads the team in routes ran, target share, everything since he started, became a starter 4 or 5 weeks ago. He scores double-digit points in almost every game. He's just a touchdown away from being a smash play at this low price. So to me, if he's the number one target for 3,500 on a team that always has to throw, so they're always behind, I like that. Carter, like you said, he could be featured more in his second game back. And then the other player that I liked here too was Croft for 2,500, just a punt tight end. Obviously if Kelsey's out and Gray's available for 2,500, I like that more. But Croft for 2,500, Jets throw. I liked Croft a lot, in the preseason. Griffin ended up taking the job, but I think Croft can play some decent tight end catching the ball if they give him a chance here.
Yeah, no, I don't hate any of that. I guess you could see a little bit high scoring game. Obviously, Vegas is sharp at what they do at times, so I definitely, when they're that low, hesitate to get too antsy. But you do have two defenses that can give up points, especially on the Jets side. So I don't mind it. Definitely one-off stuff for me. And then I agree. You mentioned Robinson and Treadwell for potential even cash consideration. Robinson should just have a huge game here, but we'll see. I thought that last week, not necessarily all true, but the Jets D just struggles against that stuff, and I think he should be in a good spot. Definitely will have some of them. Another kind of iffy game next, Lions at Falcons, and the reason being there's definitely spots here we like, but there's so many good games this week that it's hard to go, do I want to dip into some of these, these teams that aren't really playing for much? This one, potentially could have a lot of good scoring in it. Falcons, decent home favorites. I kind of like the Lions getting the points on the road, but it feels like a chalky play coming off if they wouldn't have won last week, I'd have been like, man, this is a good spot for the Lions. They're playing tough, but now it seems like a public play to go, oh, the Lions beat the Cards last week. Well, sure, I'll take them against the Falcons getting 5.5. So I'm kind of hesitant there, but Gage seems to be getting much more, comfortable with, that role with Ryan. He's getting a lot more looks. St. Brown's we've been on him for a while, and he's finally, still consistently, that's the go-to there. Cheap plays in this game. Patterson's still kind of priced up there, but he can return it. Still like Reynolds, and I'm not afraid of Pitts either this week. A lot of good tight ends on this slate. Where's your go-to right off the gate?
I think the big thing here is just Jared Goff's on the COVID list too, but he's one of the ones that can come back and play potentially. So I like this game a lot more if Goff's at quarterback. And I think it has a kind of a potential to shoot out if Goff's at quarterback. If he's out, I don't really like any of the guys, and I'll take St. Brown right off of the cash thing here and just put him as a tournament play. But yeah, I like Gage at 59. I think he's too cheap for his role there. And same thing with Pitts, 5,800. They haven't really busted out and had a huge game. Gage has had some nice ones. Pitts early on in the year. But this is the type of matchup where they can. So no, maybe they decide we're going to have a big game for Pitts here, and they draw up some things for him. It's against just a shitty defense. Maybe we can get him in the end zone, get some confidence up for him heading into next year. I don't know. I kind of like this spot for Pitts. It's hard for a lot of people to click on him because he hasn't had those big ceiling games, but I do think it's possible in this type of matchup. And then Matt Ryan, I mean, there's no more frustrating quarterback to roster in fantasy than him, but if there's any spot for them to do it at home in the Dome, playing against the Lions, neither of these defenses can stop anything.
Yeah, and I think Pitts will wind up being a good pivot off of what should be a somewhat chalky Gronk. $400 less. I think most will try to find the $400 to play Gronk. So maybe you go a Brady, AB Jones, mini stack, and you put Pitts in there at tight end. Maybe you dip into a Patterson or St. Brown, something like that, where you're getting a good Brady stack, and then you're pivoting to a guy that could equal Gronk's production, and then you just hope that one move maybe makes you different. And we're getting that running back quarterback stack like you talked about. It's a good way to get into game scripts and games that you like, but not just like we talked about, just one move of being off Cup, but you can still get a lot of great Rams plays there. Same here. You get all the Brady you want. Jones potentially picks up some passing with less wide receivers available for him. And you get a great a lot cheaper, not a lot cheaper, $400 cheaper tight end that could have that week like you're talking about, but he's going to be a fourth of the ownership of Gronk. So it's a good way to pivot there at that spot. I don't mind that at all this week. Probably the chalk spot of the week, Chargers on the road, laying 10.5, 11. Against the Texans. Eckler's probably the only piece to keep an eye on. I don't think it matters if he plays or not as far as the results go. This should just be a smash spot for the Chargers. The question is who gets it and where do you go? I do like Justin Jackson. I like him in general. And if Eckler's out, I think that's a great cheap spot to go to. He's my number 8 running back right now. I have him projected to start and go. But again, this will be the most owned team on the entire slate. Where do we get different here? Like we're talking about with the Brady's and the Rams type stuff.
I'm not sure how much different it'll be, but Jared Cook, he's 3,500. Parham had that injury. Maybe that sheds a little more light on Cook, but there are some really good tight ends to pay up for on this slate. So I'm not really sure. Everyone's kind of going down in price here to the 3,000s to buy a tight end for, especially in a tournament or something where you're, trying to get that ceiling at tight end. But Cook, really, he saw 7 targets last week without Parham out there. He could see, and without Eckler getting all those targets too. I don't think Jackson's going to really step into that same exact role. So there should be some more targets going on here for Cook, and he's a big target in the red zone. I don't know, it's not like I'm going to call him scoring 2 TDs, but if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. And Herbert too, there's this thing where if he blows out teams, is he going to be worth it? So I did a little just investigation on that, and he had, when they blew out the Giants, I think was the last game we talked about, he threw 31 passes, had 3 TDs, scored 25 DK points. They blew out the Bengals before that. He had 29 DraftKings points. So, yeah, in any blowout, this offense really just runs through Herbert. So I think he's good no matter what. He has a little bit of that rushing upside that we know of. So I think he's safe no matter what. And if he's going to be chalky, I don't really mind eating the chalk with him. And Keenan Allen, is the man there. Where you get different, Jared Cook and then Mike Williams. If it's a Mike Williams game for 6,100, he can pop off for 100 yards at any time. That'd be, I guess, where you'd go, the $6,100 Williams to be different.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think Eckler will be, a key because to your point, not only does it change him versus Jackson, but he does get involved in the passing game and stuff like that. So it can take away for some of those other guys where if it's Jackson, you could probably feel a little more comfortable loading up on, the Cook or pick between Allen, Williams, however you want to do that. Because as good as Jackson is at running the ball, I think he's a good hard runner. Won't be as featured as much out of the backfield as they would like. And I like to your point with Herbert, he's shown at times he will run. And if if they allow it, and Houston's probably gonna allow whatever they want. So I don't mind him. That's just it's going to come down. It's a tough choice to go, Herbert, we haven't even got to Mahomes yet, but Brady, a lot of these guys are in good spots. Stafford, even, he's my number 2 ranked right now. And you're splitting hairs and when you're talking about what's the best. They all have great matchups. The game script could go for them or against them. Out of those, do you have a favorite between? Is Brady still your number 1 this week?
I think I'd have to give it to Herbert just with this matchup. I'd say Brady's more of the gut feel, pissed off Brady type thing where
Gotcha.
I don't think I could rank Brady over Herbert, but they'd be up there, both in the top 3 for sure.
Another slugfest divisional matchup. Ravens at Bingles, 24-21.5. Bengals small home favorites. Probably the biggest question here is, does Jackson start, get back? It was a high ankle sprain. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Those are tough to not only come back from, but being his style. And Huntley hasn't looked bad by any means. So, if they can try to get a win, huge week for them, though. They I don't remember how many they've lost now, 3, I think, in a row that and 2 by basically going for 2-point conversions. Neither I didn't disagree with in the situation, but they got to get this divisional win to stay in it. It's a tough division. It's a close division. So I think if Jackson can go, he will. But Huntley's been suffice so far and very similar styles, maybe thrown a little better, in short term. But, Jackson started the season off throwing fine. The only difference there is going to be the pricing. Lamar's, I think, 6,900. If Huntley plays, he's 6,000. That definitely opened things up. They're banged up in the secondary, and I guess I don't get the Burrow 5,900 pricing. I know it's a tough quarterback slate, but man, I like that. I think they can throw. I think the wide receivers should have a good day. Andrews may be hard for me to go back to after the monster week, career type week. I don't know how many people are they did price him correctly up to 7K, that maybe people don't go there. So do we do a little Bingles stack and run it back with Hollywood or Andrews, or what are you thinking this week?
This one, I wanted to hear your thoughts on this game, because this one intrigues me. It's like, I can't really get a read on it. I do the matchup advantage sheet and all that stuff, and it kind of like leads you to what might be a cool game stack. And when I'm just writing the article, I'm looking at everything. It sounds good. And you see the Ravens, they give up the second most yards per game through the air, the most yards per reception. And then you say, okay, well, then what'd Burrow do last time against them? Well, he threw for 400 yards, and Jamar Chase had 200 of those yards. So, yeah, that all adds up. Then I do the matchup sheet, and it's like, it pretty much hates this game. So I don't know where to go here. I mean, Burrow seems too cheap for such, and the Ravens too, they give up the least amount of yards on the ground per game. So it's like they're a total pass funnel. They just let you throw all over them, and their secondary, like you said, is all backups. So it's like, I don't know. $5,900 Burrow seems great. I just wonder, if it's too good to be true. I
guess the only thing that could come about is these teams know each other well. Anytime you get in a divisional game, the scoring can seem to tick down a little bit just because it's more of a slugfest. But man, when you look at everything, that I look at, it's hard for me to see Burrow not throwing for 300 yards this game. Cause like you said, it's not like they're going to say, let's run the ball and Mixon all day long, because the Ravens aren't going to let them. But where do the Ravens, again, they're going to watch the tape and they're going to see what Chase did. But the point of it being is, none of those, first of all, he got 200 yards and none of those guys are even playing this week. It's backup. Right. So it's like to me, it just, like you said, I guess the only concern would be, this just looks too good to be true. But I have Burrow at 3% right now, 4%. I don't think many are going to go to Burrow this week in this deal. And it 100% will make my, sneaky stack play on the pod of, very cheap per se. You don't have to get too cute. You just go Burrow, Chase, Higgins. To me, Higgins coming off a bad game. So people, are they going to be off of him all of a sudden? He had a great stretch going. You were on him. We both talked about it many times that, he's getting the volume. He just hadn't had the big play like Chase kept getting. Then Chase kind of got cooled off, and we thought no one would go there. I have both of them in my top 8 wide receivers this week. I'm not overthinking it. My only question will be is, do I want to run it back with anybody? Do I think it'll be, and that'll come down to, is it going to be a Lamar who's iffy out there that could actually hurt them more, or is it just they let Huntley go before I decide on a Hollywood or Andrews? I don't want no part of any running back in this game. So it's either that for me or pass, but I do like the Bengals stack this week.
Yeah. I even like, a part of me kind of likes the Bengals defense for tournaments. I just think, if Huntley's going to be popular, and Huntley might be more popular than Burrow, just $100 more. People see the rushing upside, see the score he put up last week. So Burrow does become even a pivot there within the same game. But Huntley's still young, in the games before that, we saw him take a lot of sacks and get hit. And, some of those could turn into fumbles and things like that. And I don't know, on the road, like you said, divisional game in Cincy, I think the Bengals stack with the Bengals D might be like a sneaky way to get different here. And I don't mind running it back with Brown or Andrews. They can score even if the defense scores. They've seen 22 and 24 targets in Huntley starts. So, he's just looking at those two and throwing the ball. So I like the volume.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad they priced Andrews up because I think it'll keep the ownership down. I don't know how many people are going to want to click him for $800 more than Gronk, especially with if Evans is out, Gronk's ownership will go up even more, and no one's paying 800. No one's going to want to pay $800 more for Andrews. But I think the quarterback does matter. So we'll take a look there, see how that works out by the time we get to Sunday. Bears at Seahawks, 25-18. Seahawks, decent home favorites. I don't like anything I see out of Seattle right now. That thing's about to become a rebuild project. I don't know who's going to be there for it. Bears show life, but they seem to step on their feet a lot. Fields has upside. He's cheap. I probably'd rather pay $700 more to get to like a Burrow per se, but Fields could. I mean, he's got the potential. I just could I do a Fields Mooney type deal? Maybe. I like Kmet this week. I'm choosing between him and Higbee as my tight end for season long. I could do a mini stack there and maybe go to a Lockett if he's back or Metcalf. There's so many great spots outside of this game that it doesn't interest me too much, but I don't mind some tournament plays there as one-offs.
Yeah, I think if you're making enough lineups, I mean, Fields and Mooney are cheap enough to where it could pop off. Like the only team giving up more pass yards a game than the Ravens is the Seahawks. So, they can't cover anything. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback either, which is nice. So it's hard for Fields to go, hard for anyone, but a rookie to go to Seattle, that's always real tough. Because even though they suck, the crowd's going to be loud. But they don't get any pressure. They can't cover anyone. 5,200, and he can use his legs. That's not bad in a tournament. And then I put Lockett and Metcalf in there just because, I feel like with Wilson in this matchup too against Chicago, they don't get any pressure. I don't think this game's going to shoot out by any means, but, Mooney or Lockett or someone like that could catch a long pass and that, sends them on their way to a 100-yard game and, 20-something points on DraftKings, and that would be enough to be in any optimal.
Oh, for sure. And just to point out, I didn't say it earlier, this is a time here we want to watch weather. As of now, maybe a couple of cold games, but really no precipitation and wind concerns at hardly any game this week. We'll definitely keep an eye on that anytime in December. Like us here in Oklahoma, there's a lot of places that are unusually warm right now. So luckily we haven't had too much of that. I mean, the Pats game comes to mind, but that wasn't even on main slate. But as of now, no weather concerns, but that's something we'll update on Saturday or Sunday if need be. Steelers at Chiefs, big game for the Steelers here, who are trying to survive in that division we just talked about. Everybody's right there within each other. Chiefs about a 6.5, 7 point home favorite. Najee coming off his worst game of the year, or one of them. I didn't actually fact check it, but definitely one of, not a great game for him. Chiefs showing life. I don't know if I still buy into the Raiders game was whatever. I think the Raiders just mailed it in a little bit and things got away from them. I'm still not all bought into the Chiefs are quote unquote fixed. They are home though. Steelers decent D at times. I like 3 or 4 other Herbert, Brady. We talked about Stafford, maybe even Burrow before I like a Mahomes stack. I don't know how popular it'll get. He's always clicked anytime he's on the slate, but for 7,700, there's just the other games I like better. Maybe I could take some pieces off in here, maybe some mini stacks, but I just like some of the other spots on the slate better. What about you?
Yeah, the big news here will be if Hill and Kelsey can make it back from the COVID list.
Correct.
But even if they do, like you said with Mahomes, I'm not really sure that's going to be needed with all those other good quarterbacks. And the thing is for CEH, so even if those guys come back, say they had COVID, they're a little slowed, that's just all speculation. But the Steelers give up the most yards per carry in the NFL. CEH is fully healthy. They're at home, big favorites. To me, I really like this spot for a $5,800 running back who also can catch a few passes, has a decent goal line role. When they're down inside the 5, they do those little shovels to them and stuff. So I don't mind CH here at all. And then I like going back to Deontay. The Steelers' play volume was just way down last week. And I don't think it'll be like that this week. So I think the Chiefs will be able to score. Chiefs play at a faster pace. So I think the Steelers' play volume would be back up. So Deontay, to me, is safe even in cash. And then Najee, I like going back to him in tournaments because a $7,400 price, no one's going to want to pay for. Chargers or Chiefs, are almost dead last in yards per carry allowed. So like this game too, they could run on each other back and forth. And then Najee too, the Chiefs do get pressure. And I kind of like that because for dump offs and things like that and quick passes, maybe Najee can get a few more catches in this game as well. So I like going back to him in tournaments for sure.
Yeah, I could see that play and certainly have no issues with that. He'll I had him significantly lower owned this week. I don't know how much. Actually, I think it may hurt him more with Madison being in there because Madison's going to be cheaper, so he may be even lower. So I don't mind that at all. I definitely think that's a good spot. And you're right. We definitely have to see what happens with Hill and Kelsey. That's I kind of, because of how I like the slate, I hope they do make it back because I don't have any intentions of going to the Chiefs. So if that boosts their ownership and lowers some of the other spots I like better,
totally.
Fine by me. Broncos at Raiders, another divisional game. Raiders, small favorites. Raiders have been Jekyll and Hyde in many games this year. They're still in the thick of things. I think the Broncos aren't too far. I mean, everybody's still technically alive with the 16 weeks, but yeah, they're both 7-7, but Chargers are 8-6. And then, the Chiefs are 10-4 now, but 7-7 right now is a massive tie, multiple tie for potential that 7th spot. So big game here for both of them. I don't want to say loser goes home type of deal, but I very low scoring game total by Vegas standards. My boy's always in play. I'm going to play Javonte and MMEs or flyers any given week. One day they'll realize to not give the ball to Gordon as much as they do. Even last week, again, Williams much better yards per carry. It's been that way all year. He's leading the league in yards after contact. I'm on him again. I just, the only thing it keeps it from being a smash spot is Gordon hanging around there. Outside of that, I'm like you. I don't like much about this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I kind of like the Broncos here. I don't know what side you lean, as far as betting or anything, but I think having Locke start at quarterback might force their hand a little bit more to just continue to pound these backs, play good D, and win football games. And that's what Javonte and Gordon are built to do for them. So I don't know. I like the Broncos. I think the Broncos, I think we knew this coming in. They're just like a quarterback away from being a really good football team. They're two good running backs, two good tight ends, good receivers. They're loaded all over, and their defense is great. You can't really say all that stuff about the Raiders. And the way the Raiders are playing, like you said, is Jekyll and Hyde type football. We'll see if Waller comes back. Even if he does, I think I like the Broncos here. And for that reason, Javonte would be the only person I'm considering. I don't want to play the receivers with Locke starting. Even if they split, we've seen times this year where even with the Broncos a few weeks ago, if they're in control of a game, even with a split, these backs can touch it 20 times. So that should be all he needs to pay off 6,100. So yeah, I'm with you on tournaments there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear this week. I like the slate in general because you have several spots you can get into and be different at. And then there's a few, Bobby Burger's Big Red X spots. You just move on. You don't even have to worry about it. Hopefully we avoid any more big news on the COVID front. Definitely makes our jobs a headache. You get something pumped out and ready, and 10 minutes later it's worthless almost because any big guy. Cook was an easy one because it to me it doesn't change a lot of anything like ownership. I think most of it will go directly down to Madison. Maybe Madison's even a hair higher owned. But sometimes, like last week, there was things that you almost just had to wait till Sunday morning and go on the fly because you don't want to put stuff out there. I hope the new rules that they're doing once we get through this week, because a lot of these guys because they didn't start the new protocol technically, I think, till Wednesday. And so a lot of these guys were still testing under the old and they popped up, could have been, asymptomatic type stuff. So hopefully after this week, we kind of get it. Because my understanding is that if you are vaccinated, you don't have to test at all anymore. And then if unless you have symptoms. I
think that's right.
Yeah. So being what they've told us, 95 to 96.7% of the league's vaccinated, then they're only going to be 3 to 4% of the league even testing daily. starting yesterday. Like Hill and Kelsey and those guys all tested positive when they were still doing the old rules on Monday or Tuesday. So hopefully but we get through this week and the big, week 17 and 18 could be crazy. Normally it's kind of a week we stay away from, but because of the way the extra game or the extra team in the playoffs and having 18 weeks, I think there's going to be a lot of games that are, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams in a situation to sit players out this year type of deal. No one's really pulling away from anything. You may have one or two spots, but I think we'll have a pretty live week that week. It sounds like they're going to move 2 games to Monday that'll both have playoff implications and have a doubleheader on Monday. So we may cover some of that when we get to week 18. Should be some fun times ahead. I'm looking forward to it. I love Christmas. It's definitely a great time of the year. Family, football, and I just like this time generally. I love Thanksgiving because it doesn't have anything to do with the presents and all that, but I do enjoy the Christmas through that January 2nd when you get football, NFL, tons of bowl games. Kids are home from school for the all week. It's a fun time. And then we lead right into golf and, then we're, weeks away from Daytona 500, which I know we got some news coming out on that front with the NASCAR product will be bigger and better and stronger than ever. Golf as well. Big things coming in the next few weeks. Come join us if you want to join now. Hot gets you 20% off. It includes a 7-day free trial, risk-free trial. You can cancel anytime in those 7 days and you never see a charge. So it's a great deal and a good week right here. You're going to be home, going to be with family, want to get some bowl game action, want to do some NFL. I think UFC's done for the year, but they'll be firing back up in January with the rest of stuff. And then we'll be hot and heavy on NASCAR and PGA as we go through the spring. Any final thoughts for you? Obviously it's going to be big any week, but this will be another week where Sunday morning is going to be important to be around.
Yeah, no, I do the like all my matchup advantages that are in the Cream article, and I update that on Sunday morning. So I have like projected snap percentage on there for the running backs and things like that. Once we get the news, I edit that. But what I'll say for final thoughts is I look at, mainly 4 different categories, like their raw, run and pass advantage, their offensive drive versus the defense that they're playing, their drive advantage there. It's basically just a drive success, first down and touchdown type thing. And then I look at like an overall offense versus defense and then the implied team total. So for running backs this week, I'll just name the teams. These are the only teams that have hit all criteria would be the Eagles, Rams, Chargers, Chiefs, and Bucks. And for the pass game would be the Chargers, the Bucks, the Falcons, the Rams, and the Vikings. So just take that for what you will, but definitely check it out in the Cream article. And then I just want to end it with Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and love you guys and thank you for listening.
Yeah, I'll be back later this afternoon. Monkey Knife Fight is $1 for $1 match up to $100 as well. That link is in the description. I'll have my plays for tonight and this weekend coming on Cup with Gup and then the coin flip. I'll have Cup with Gup out here. By the time you guys are listening to this, that will already be recorded and out. And then I'll be back probably in the morning for coin flip. I'm trying to do that as late as I can, getting the news in we're getting. And we'll have a big weekend ahead. Tons of stuff to do. Obviously, Christmas Eve tomorrow, spend time with family, that and Saturday. I will cover the 2-game slate on Saturday for the premium members. I may hit on it on the Cup with Gup stuff with the showdown stuff tonight as well. But right now, there isn't any big concerns on that 2-game slate, but that can always change. We've seen that just today in itself. So I'll be back later on today. You guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.